Benkei, the monk who died standing, soft ambient Japanese flute. There are warriors whose deaths echo louder than their lives. Men whose final moments blur the line between history and legend. One such man was a towering figure who defied death itself. A warrior monk whose body refused to fall, even when pierced by dozens of arrows. This is the story of Benkei, the monk who died standing, Act 1. The giant of Kyoto. Temple bells ring softly, sounds of night in ancient Kyoto. The year is 1155. In the twilight of Japan's Heian period, Kyoto, the imperial capital, is a city of contradictions. Beneath its serene temples and delicate gardens lurk political chaos, corruption, and the constant clash of the samurai. Among the many monks wandering these sacred streets is a man who doesn't quite fit in. He's enormous, nearly 6.5 feet tall, with shoulders like an ox and hands built for battle, not prayer. His name is Musashibo Benkei. Benkei was raised in a monastery, but peace never suited him. From an early age, his immense strength and wild temper set him apart. He trained with weapons, meditated with monks, and fought anyone foolish enough to test him. Over time, his skill grew, and so did his disdain for the samurai, the so-called elite warriors who flaunted wealth and status while ordinary people suffered. Benkei came to believe that the samurai were arrogant, corrupt, and undeserving of their swords, the sacred symbols of their honor. And so, the monk made a vow. Act 2. The 1,000 Sword Quest, Transition. Rhythmic drumming begins softly. Benkei swore to defeat 1,000 samurai in single combat, taking their swords as trophies to purify Japan of their arrogance. One duel at a time, armed with a naginata, a long pole weapon with a curved blade, Benkei began haunting the bridges and temple roads of Kyoto. Each night, he challenged passing samurai to combat. Each night, he left with another sword. His legend grew quickly. Commoners whispered his name like a ghost story. Samurai spoke it with a mix of fear and pride. The true test of a warrior, they said, was to survive a duel with Benkei. By the time he had claimed 999 swords, he was a myth in flesh, a wandering storm wrapped in monk's robes. Only one duel remained before his vow would be complete. Number 3, the flute on Gojo Bridge, nighttime soundscape, wind, crickets, and the faint melody of a flute. One moonlit night, Benkei walks the streets near Gojo Bridge, his naginata resting on his shoulder. He hears something unusual, the delicate notes of a flute. Following the sound, he sees a small, graceful man standing on the bridge, the moonlight glinting off a gilded katana at his side. To Benkei, this is perfect. The samurai's sword would be the final prize to complete his vow. Benkei steps forward and challenges him. The man, slender, calm, and perhaps amused, puts away his flute and nods. The duel begins. Benkei attacks with his usual ferocity, powerful, sweeping strikes meant to overwhelm his opponent. But the smaller man moves like water, evading every blow. With a sudden flash of steel, he knocks Benkei's weapon aside and strikes him down. Benkei falls to his knees, defeated for the first time in his life. The samurai does not kill him. He simply sheaths his sword and walks away. Benkei, humiliated and furious, can only watch as his mysterious opponent disappears into the night. Act 4. The birth of loyalty days pass. Benkei's anger turns inward. He can't accept that he lost, not to someone smaller, younger, calmer. He must know who this man is. He learns the samurai's name. Minamoto no Yoshitsune, a young general from the powerful Minamoto clan, whose family is embroiled in a civil war against the rival Taira. Benkei's humiliation transforms into admiration. Here was a man not just stronger, but nobler, wiser, the kind of warrior Benkei had always hoped to find. One day, Benkei finds Yoshitsune again at Kiyomizu Temple. He kneels before him and says, "I've lived as a monk and a fighter. I've challenged 1,000 men and found no equal. From this day, I wish to serve only you." Yoshitsune accepts, and thus begins one of the most legendary partnerships in Japanese history. the brilliant young general, and his unstoppable warrior monk. Act 5. Brothers in battle, battle drums and shouting fade in. For years, Yoshitsune and Benkei fight side by side in the Genpei War, a massive conflict that would decide who ruled Japan. Yoshitsune is a tactical genius and fast, daring, unpredictable. Benkei is his shield, the immovable wall that holds the line. Together, they win impossible battles. They cross rivers in storms, scale cliffs under fire, and crush enemies 10 times their number. In the end, Yoshitsune's clan, the Minamoto, defeats the Taira. Peace returns, and Yoshitsune's half-brother Minamoto no Yoritomo becomes the first shogun of Japan. But peace can be more dangerous than war. Jealous of his brother's fame, Yoritomo begins to suspect Yoshitsune of treason. Whispers spread, allies vanish, and soon the great general and his loyal retainer become fugitives, hunted by the very government they helped to create. He kneels before him and says, "I've lived as a monk and a fighter. I've challenged 1,000 men and found no equal. From this day, I wish to serve only you." Yoshitsune accepts, and thus begins one of the most legendary partnerships in Japanese history. The brilliant young general and his unstoppable warrior monk.